night, just like everything that's happened this year, is 100% my responsibility, 100% accountable for everything that happens on and off the field, always will be. I think there was just too much inconsistency. We were not detailed enough, Ryan. Whether it was a depth of a route, whether it was a drop of a ball, we had 8 drops, and that's not like us. We had more penalties than we've had. That's not like us. And that falls 100% on me. We were behind the chains more than we usually are, which affects the play calling. We had 2 10-minute drives and come away with no points. If I would have told you that, you'd think I'm crazy. We missed a field goal. It was just, it was really poor on my part.
Let's go to Daniel House. Daniel.
Hey, PJ.
Hi, Daniel.
What was your overall assessment of the route running and passing game combinations against Iowa?
It was inconsistent. And it wasn't like some drastic, wrong routes or, 15 yards off of something. It was the small just missed. And that just missed, right? If you take yourself off this far, but you walk in an angle 10 miles, you're going to be off in 10 miles, right? From just that much. And that's kind of how I saw our pass game on Friday, because we usually hit those. And if we can, you get into that rhythm. And then you go down 14, you have lots of drives, long drives, and you come away with no points, whether it was a missed field goal, whether it was an interception. But again, we haven't had 8 drops in a game in a very long time. And what I like is that when we don't play that way, it stands out like a sore thumb, because there is a standard of how we play. There's an expectation of how we play. There's an expectation of how we coach. And I'm the first one to take 100% accountability for it, because it had to do with something that I did. And I've got to be better in the details, even more than I have been. And I've got to be clearer. There's a lot of, and this is no excuse, but there's a lot of people who haven't played on both sides of the ball. And so, you work so much as a coach for those fundamentals, those details, those techniques. And some people have a lot more experience here and there, and you can get away with it. But there's sometimes you can't. And we weren't able to get away with that. And it caught up to us when it caught up to us with that detail. And that's what I told our team. And we're just going to keep getting better and keep growing. And I know it's not the result anybody wants, but if you're looking at that team that we're playing, there are 7 freshmen playing in one of those and multiple plays. Those are very talented football players. They're either true freshmen or redshirt freshmen from past recruiting classes that have been very good, but they're playing for the first time. And you, as a coach, I said I want to be the most empathetic head coach in the country. This is part of that. It's not just off the field; it's on the field. That they have to understand that there's a standard, and I have to make sure it's clear. And we've got to do a better job coaching to make sure all those small details are accounted for, even if you are playing for the first time. But again, this is valuable experience. That counts. And I think everybody's like, does this count? This counts. And I'm held accountable for that result on that field, period. And nobody will hold myself or anyone else accountable more than me. So again, that's what we got to get fixed. So thanks for the question, Daniel.
Let's go to Meg Ryan with Star Tribune.
Hi, PJ. How are you today?
Hi, Meg. Lee, thank you.
Good. So far, if you're looking at your head coaching career, you've always been on like an upward trajectory, right? You might have taken over a team that wasn't so good and then kind of steadily built them up. This is maybe the first time that a team you've coached, has been on an upward trajectory, but has taken maybe a little bit of a step back. How has that, I guess, influenced your coaching of this situation? Or how is that kind of a new experience for you to, be leading a team that, had a really good year last year to kind of, leading them through maybe taking a step back in this season?
That's a great question, Meg. That's a really good question, because I've been asked that before. But as a head coach and a part of the team, you know what's coming. You know what you have. Okay. Now, through the media, I told you we were going to be very talented, but very youthful and very inexperienced. I said that in January. We lost 5 draft picks, right? And there's 7 guys playing the NFL. Rodney Smith played yesterday with the Carolina Panthers. to be able to replace that, right, in the third full year you're there, going into your fourth, the way we recruit with seniors, it's probably not going to be able to happen right away. So you go back to what you know of how to be able to get it back there. Remember, this is a developmental program. First of all, if anybody expected us to win 11 games this year, it's impossible. We're not even going to play 11 games. So no matter what was going to happen, it was going to be underachieving, no matter if we won them all. So we had to make sure that we know exactly what we have, what are we going to be able to do to develop it, and what sacrifices are we going to have to be able to make, that a lot of them are in our control and out of our control. You know, Ben St. Just out, Keontae Shad out, you know, Mariano out, and then you're looking behind that, and especially with Braylon out, there's a lot of youthful talent that's just inexperienced. And that's not an excuse, it just is. And the only way they're going to get experience is by playing. And it's unfortunate that it's that type of year that you don't have the development that you can find out a lot, that you're finding out a lot during the game. But based on the coaching career, I've had youthful, I've had experienced. I've had everything from really good teams to teams that needed to be coach led, people that didn't lead, to elite teams that players led. I've seen it all, right? And I've only been coaching, this is my 8th year. So I guess if I had like 17 stops that I kept doing that, it's only been 8 years. And this is, again, you win 11 games. That's the first time that's happened in 125 years. That's a long time. And so, and plus you weren't going to be able to win 11 anyway, just based on the schedule. So you had to be able to say, okay, what's our own internal expectation? And our internal expectations, get better. It's get better. You can see the talent. You can see the skill set, but you have to now develop that. And it just goes back to every year is its own entity. It's not just a continuation of the next year. Every team is its own fingerprint. And this team has a completely different fingerprint than last year. And next year we'll have a completely different fingerprint than this year. And you take it for what it's worth. And I think everybody around the country, you know, head coaches say the same thing. That's hard to just say, we're going to do that because we did this. You have to, you start over, and you do everything you can to lean on your experience, lean on your leadership, develop the team that you have. And this year, develop it as creatively as you can. And then after the end of the year, I'll look up and I'll say, what didn't I do well? Where did I miss? And then where did I hit? Where did our team hit? Where didn't they hit? And then you evaluate at that point, just like we did after 11 wins. But, you know, I don't think it has to do with, well, this is the first time listen, I've been the worst coach in America, which I'm sure probably a lot of people probably feel that right now too in our fans, but I've been that before. And you go back to knowing, and I'm glad I have been. I'm glad a lot of my staff has been. We've all been at the bottom and we've all been at the top, because you've seen that whole range. So everybody knows how to be able to handle that. And you take it for exactly what it is, Meg. That's how you handle it. You take it for exactly what it is, and you just coach, and you just teach, and you just develop, and you just love, and you just connect, and you create, and you're empathetic. And that's how you do it. So I know I gave you a lot, and you'll pull what you pull from that, but that's the reality.
Andy Greeter, you're up next.
Hi, Andy.
PJ, you
You're
talked.
fourth today. Usually you're free. You get it right in there. Ryan beat you.
I know you started early, so
Slow buzzer. Slow buzzer.
Yeah, if you're not 5 minutes early, you're late, right? Vince Lombardi, something like that.
Okay.
You talk about a developmental program, and Zach Annexstad is a game captain for you guys. Where is he? Can we see him? How would you kind of assess his potential involvement this year?
Well, I think Zach's one of the most selfless players on our football team. I think he's ready for his opportunity whenever that comes. He's a true professional. He's gotten so much better. I think all of our quarterbacks have gotten better. Now, just because you're not getting that result doesn't mean you're not getting better. We're growing. There's a lot of reasons why. But one thing I'll say about him is he's become an ultimate teammate, and he's ready for his opportunity. Just like he at one point had his opportunity, and then things outside of his control happened. Then he got hurt again. He's matured so much. And I know this, when he has an opportunity to play, he's going to play well. And I feel that way with all of our quarterbacks. I feel that way with everybody on our football team. I wouldn't be playing 7 guys on defense or more than that if I didn't think they were good enough. and they couldn't go in there and show and be talented enough. But just because they're not having that result yet, doesn't mean that they're not good players. I mean, Zach's incredibly talented, and he's one play away.
All right, let's go to Dave Campbell, Associated Press.
Hi, Dave.
Hey, PJ, I'm going to pull a Grim here and keep my video off, but I'm just wondering about defense and playing in the Big Ten. I mean, you look around, I guess, the league leaders, and it's never more clear, how important it is to have, sound, if not dominant defense to win in this league.
Right.
Just wondering even though the rest of college football seems to be so offense heavy, I guess you knew that coming to the Big Ten, but is it, I guess, ever more apparent this year as you're trying to develop this younger group?
Yeah, I think everybody has their own philosophies. Based on how we play, you have to have a dominant defense. We had a dominant defense last year, and we had a really good offense. I think we were probably more experienced, right? And we were better on defense, and you could see it. I mean, we had 7-8 seniors leave, right? And when you look at the teams that are really at the top of our league, if you're not talking about just top 3 recruiting class all the time, we're talking about developmental, as you said, right? It's the teams that have the experience, right? Look at Northwestern's defense right now, and they have 8 seniors, I think, playing on it. I mean, they're really good. They were 1-8, 1-7 last year in the Big Ten. You have to have a really good defense. I believe that in the Big Ten. That's my belief. I'm not saying that that's for college football, but I know what works for us. And I might be 39, almost 40, so I'm almost over the hill. But I still believe in defensive football. I believe in being able to run the football. I believe in play action pass. I believe in the physicality of football and the mental toughness of football and the defensive mindset and how hard this game is. So I do believe in that our defense is really important, especially in the Big Ten. But I've been in 2 leagues as a head coach, and I've seen but I think for us, just speaking at Minnesota, I think that's why we're investing in our defense. And I know it might not be what people want it to be, but that's what people have to peel back the onion a little bit and just look at who's playing and how they're very good players. I mean, we recruited some really talented players. You might be sitting there going, I don't see that. Well, you might not see it yet, but it'll hit and it'll happen. And we'll see the result of the fruit of the labor eventually. And you want to see it sooner. Everybody wants to see it sooner. So do I. So do our players. But again, it's that developmental program, and some of these challenges that you have when you are that's what you're going to constantly fight through, and that's okay. Speechless. No way. Mossy's coming in saying there's no way. He's turning up the volume right now. He's like, somebody's asking a question.
Well, we can revisit Joe. Let's go back to Meg Ryan.
PJ, I know we've talked before a lot about Tanner and his response and how it's kind of, he's got the best response on the team, I think is what you've said before about him. Have you seen that come to a different level or have to come to a different level this year, being that, this is a hard year for anyone, but especially to be a college football player, to be a young person. And then specifically for Tanner, I know he had a good relationship with Kirk Shiraka, and learning a new coordinator, I'm sure, was hard. And then I know, he's got things going on with his dad and his family back home that I'm sure is on his mind. And so I guess I'm just kind of wondering, how have you seen him deal with even more adversity and kind of respond to that? That's even more so than just the pressure of being, a starting quarterback in the Big Ten.
I think it's maturity. I think you hit on everything that everybody wants to say and can say, but it's looked at as excuses. There's reasons for everything that happens, right? There's to an A, there's a B, right? There's to a question, there's an answer. Sometimes we don't want to hear that because it sounds like an excuse, but internally, if you know what's going on and internally, you know how to be able to handle it and have response mechanisms to deal with it and cope with it, you can row through it, because there's 2 options. You either quit or you row. There's nothing in between. We all have issues. We all have situations. We all have challenges, especially in 2020, as you pointed out. Some are easier to overcome and some are more challenging. Tanner's dealing with an awful lot. But you know what? He's never complained about it one bit. And he's held himself to a higher standard than he ever has with the challenges that are upon him. Is it an unfortunate in every area of his life, certain situations, like many of our kids? Sure. But they're dealing with this now and they're learning how to cope with this and respond to this now, that when they get 10 years down the road and their wife's sick or their child has cancer, that they don't quit, that they don't stop. These are life lessons. Everybody wants to win football games. There's nobody at this podium or in that room next door who doesn't want to win a football game. But there's so many things we learn, and the process of learning and the process of winning happens every day, that there's a direct result on Saturday or Friday or whenever we're playing that we get evaluated on. But it's the response that you have, and that's what he's learning. You asked me at the beginning of the year, what does he have to do better? Lead everyone, right? You said, remember you asked me that question, I think it was back in the spring when we had our press conference. What can Tanner even do better? It's lead everyone. But to lead everyone, you got to be able to lead yourself. And all the situations you're dealing with personally, you have to be able to lead through and have mechanisms to get yourself through those things. And then not only that, remember, the defense had a lot of leaders on it last year. And he could worry just about the offense. Well, now it was about expanding that role. And not only that, not having the time and connectivity and the time to do that with people and then deal with all the things you're going through personally. I meant what I said. I'm going to do everything I can to be the most empathetic head football coach in America. And I feel like I'm different now than I was 6 months ago. But I'm not perfect, and I'm constantly doing everything I can to be better. But I've listened to players more than I've ever listened to them, and I've listened a lot. And these are your children. These are your sons, and they're all dealing with things differently. But as you said, right, all those things add up, and everybody thinks everything should just be okay. And sometimes it's not, and sometimes it is. And those are the things you deal with every day as a head coach. And that's why I love my job, because it's way more than just the wins and the losses. And I said that when we were 9-0. It's about the people. Our program is about the people, their stories, their journeys. And that's what it'll always continue to be about. And I think Tanner's handling everything really well. And again, we've all got to play better. We all got to coach better. We all have to do our jobs better, but we need to all do it together. And we're going to continue to do it together.
All right, let's go to Joe Schmidt, KSTP.
All right. Coach, I want to talk to you about the run defense. We know you're young, but are you getting out muscled, out physical, up front? And if you are, how can you, what can you do to disguise it? How can you work around it the rest of the season?
Joe, how many kids you have? 3. Okay. What's your oldest kid?
She's 27 and pregnant.
Okay. How far apart are they?
2 years apart each.
Okay. So when your daughter was 6, could she beat up your 2-year-old?
Yep.
Okay. Now, if your 2-year-old had passion and relentlessness and desire and purpose, and it showed every rep, maybe that 2-year-old would be close to that 6-year-old. That's the best way I can describe it. Whatever we need to make up for the physical maturity of our players, that maybe we're going against some guys who are physically mature. And again, choice made by me, my decision, right? And the way we recruit, my decision. Everything falls on me. But it's the ability to say, okay, if I'm not that, what do I have to do to beat that? And it comes down to our culture. Play harder for longer, right? Strain harder. Be able to play for longer, be in better, even more condition. It's knowing my assignments, being one step ahead. It's knowing something before it happens. It's a combination of all that, Joe. And that comes down to me. That comes down to coaching. That comes down to making sure everything's simple enough for people to be able to play faster. Because if we're going to, as you would say, if we're going to be out matured, or right, out muscled is what you said, but out matured, then we've got to be able to make sure that we highlight everybody's strengths. And the part of that is we're finding out what a lot of their strengths are as we play this season, which you can usually find out what that is in the off season too. So we've got to just be better. We got to find ways to be able, as you said, to be able to stop the run. And then, when there's tackles to be made, we got to be able to tackle. And we're not tackling well yet. I said yet because we will. It's just not yet. So I hope that makes sense to you, Joe. And I didn't mean to bring up your kids and how old they are, and but
That's all right. They could beat me up when they were 2 and 6 anyway.
No, thanks for your question.
We'll take two more. We'll go to Andy Greeter and then Daniel House. Go ahead, Andy.
PJ, when it comes to Mariano, obviously he was a guy that had played a little bit of football for you guys, but looks like he's struggling maybe more so than anyone. What do you do with somebody that was looked at as a leader that maybe needs to have some empathetic times from you?
Well, I think that when you look at Mariano, is sometimes when you do have experience and you're surrounded by people with inexperience, you try to do their job too. And then you try to do too much. And I think that's where Mariano is falling into right now. And I love that. That's something you can fix. When someone's doing too less, that's hard to fix, right? When someone doesn't want to do something, that's different. Now, he wants to do everything. He wants to play corner, safety, 3 technique, nose, and linebacker at the same time. You've got to be able just to trust the people around you. And he's been better at that. And, he's so intelligent and he's so smart and he's so instinctual, but he'll get better with that over time. And it's helping his leadership. It's helping him be able to understand what his strengths and his weaknesses are right now. And to be a role player is very different than being the starter. It is. And there's a lot more accountability and responsibility. And especially when there's, people around you that are a little bit more inexperienced, you've got to be able to get them to be able to do their job, but you got to do your job first, but you can't do theirs for them. They've got to do it. And we all got to get them to that point.
All right, last question goes to Daniel House. Daniel, go ahead.
You rotated some younger players into the mix on Friday, and Michael Dixon really stood out to me. What does he bring to the defense when he's out there?
This kid's going to be really special, everybody. It's nice to smile, I know you're probably why, because I get excited about our talent. I'm really excited about our talent. I'm really excited about now them playing. Just because they're not getting the result doesn't mean I'm not excited when I watch them play. I like when they fail because that means they got to grow, right? And we have a job to do, and that's to coach and to make them better. He is so athletic and he's so fast, and he's like a linebacker playing safety with a mentality of a way he can hit you, but he can cover like a really good cover safety. But he's a true freshman, and he's thrown in the mix. And he was playing down in Statesboro, Georgia last year, and now all of a sudden he's playing and rotating in with Tyler Nubin and getting guys a lot of reps. And again, my choice to get a lot of people reps. Because we don't know when the time's going to be where somebody's out for 3 to 4 weeks immediately. So I have to, the way our roster's built right now, I've got to play a lot of people. And I think the future is really bright for Michael Dixon. He's a very quiet, humble young man, but very, very, very talented. He's got a very, very bright future here. And I'm glad that he's going to be playing as much as he is. And there's a lot of competition out there.
All right, Coach, thank you for your time. We greatly.
Thanks, everybody. Row the boat, Sky Ma. Go Gophers. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Everyone, just give me a few seconds. We'll have Tanner Morgan up here momentarily. All right, we have Tanner at the podium now. Send me a message in chat. We'll get started for Tanner. All right, Joe Schmidt, go ahead.
Hi, Tanner. Where's your confidence at right now? Maybe compared to last year.
Yeah, I mean, Joe, still incredibly confident in this team, in my abilities. You know what, we're gonna keep our oars in the water and keep rowing. It's what we do. We respond. It's about the process, not about the result. So I'm still incredibly confident in this team and what we can do individually as well. And we're just gonna keep our oars in the water and keep rowing.
All right, let's go to Andy Greeter.
Tanner, when you look back at Iowa, do you see things that were similar mistakes to previous games or new mistakes? How would you kind of assess the Iowa game and then in the greater context of the three before?
Yeah, I would say there's, a couple things that it just comes down to execution and the details of the execution. So, understanding, for me personally, the, 2 interceptions obviously is completely unacceptable and can never happen. So, either give our guys a chance or give nobody a chance. So that's obviously something that I definitely have learned from. And our coach Sanford has, coached me up on. So I think there's a lot of things that obviously I have to do better because everything runs through me. And so for us to be better, I have to be better, and I will be. So I think moving forward, just have to continue to work on the details and do what we do.
Daniel House, you're up next.
Hey, Tanner, after a game, how do you usually approach the film evaluation process?
Yeah. Hey, Daniel. It's a great question. Well, the first thing is our coach is doing an elite job of grading our performances out and, doing it with incredible detail of, things that we can improve on, things that, we did good on. But I think the way I view it, the way I look at it is there's a lot of opportunities to learn from, good and bad. And some things you might get away with, some things you might not. But if you take it and you don't learn from it, that's not growth. You're not growing from that moment. If you don't learn from an interception, if you don't learn from a fumble, you don't learn from a mistake, you're not truly going to learn from it to become a better player and to become a better teammate. So I think the biggest word that we focus on is it doesn't matter if we win or lose. We approach every day after the game the same. We put our leather vest on and we learn from it. Whether it's positive or negative, we're going to learn from it and be able to take things to continue to have these experiences to help us be better players and teammates.
Meg Ryan, go ahead.
Hi, Tanner. How are you?
I'm elite. How are you, Meg?
I'm doing okay. Thank you. Wanted to ask about Zach Annexstad. I guess I'm curious the relationship that you two have, and I maybe specifically when it relates to like on the field. I think if I remember correctly last year, PJ said something about Zach being like, oh, he's like the assistant quarterbacks coach. It's kind of like the joke because he was like on his scooter, like scooting around after you guys and helping out whenever he could. And I guess I'm curious, being that he's been in your position before as the starting quarterback of this team, but he's been on the outside, right? He's been on the sideline kind of looking at it from this other perspective. Has that helped you at all? Like, do you two have conversations about him being like, I saw this and maybe you didn't see it when you were in the game, but like, this is maybe something you could use. I guess I'm just kind of curious if those kinds of things have happened. Yeah, it's a huge help. It's a huge asset to have. I have a great relationship with Zach, and Zach does a phenomenal job of, always being ready and he understands our offense at a really high level. So I have a lot of conversations with him and the rest of our quarterbacks on the sideline of like, hey, like, what did you guys see? What was the pressure? What happened? And they're asking me questions too. We're feeding off each other, and they definitely help me to go out there and play better for sure. And I'm very appreciative to have the quarterback group that we have. We got a lot of selfless guys that really truly love each other and want to see each other succeed.
Let's go to Blake with the Daily Gopher.
Hey, Tanner, is there a connection with Rashad Bateman that you don't have with the other receivers? And is there a way that you can build a better connection with like Chris Bell or Daniel Jackson?
Yeah. I mean, obviously have a great connection with Bate, just from the past connection and stuff like that. And, I think it's all about, executing our plays, executing things that we can do to get the hands in guys, to get the ball in guys' hands that can make plays for us. And we have a lot of guys that can do that. And obviously Zero is, a guy that does that at a very high level. So you want to get the ball in his hands. Again, I have to continue to develop relationships and connections with, Chris and Daniel Jackson, Seth, a bunch of guys. We got a lot of guys that, we trust to go out there and make plays for us, and whoever's in the game, we trust 100% to execute and make plays.
Let's go to Eric Strack. Eric, go ahead.
Tanner, first off, sweet mustache. I'm 31 and the envy's real. But I wanted to ask you, last year you guys were a powerful offense, hit on a lot of big plays. You had a great showing with Matt Simon in the Outback Bowl. Now Mike Sanford comes in and the struggle has been more real on offense. What do you think? What do you boil that down to? Is there something that you guys are having issues grasping? What are you seeing from your side?
Yeah, thanks for the stash comment. I truly appreciate that. Again, it comes down to execution. It's not like we're doing a bunch of different things or whatever. We 100% truly believe and trust in our coaching staff. We believe in each other. We just have to, execute better. It sounds silly, sounds simple, but it's really the small details and the little things that really help you to have success. And again, like I've said a million times, that runs through me. That starts with me. So for us to be better, I have to be better as an offensive unit and as a team. And that runs right directly through me.
Let's go to Daniel House.
Hey, Tanner, how much can a small deviation in timing impact the outcome of a route?
Yeah, I mean, I think it can impact the route tremendously depending on, what the route is. If it's a tremendously 1,000, 2,000 route, it can, definitely make things a little hairy. But our receivers do a great job with their details and, whether it's a timing route or off steps or yards or whatever it may be, of getting open. And I think that's the most important thing. But as a quarterback, if, it's not always like routes on air, if it was like that, every speed out would be thrown on off the plant, to the sideline. It's not always that way. So you have to be able to create a little bit and have some natural instincts. But, timing is definitely really important, and our receivers do a great job of having great timing.
All right, we'll take two more. We'll go back to Meg Ryan and then finish with Andy. Meg, go ahead.
Tanner, so I ask you this question every week, which is how are you? And I've already asked it to you once, but I guess I'm going to ask it again. How are you? And I mean that in like, this has been a really bad year for everyone for multiple reasons. And I guess I just want to know, like, we hear a lot about how you are so good at responding to adversity, and like, even every week when I ask you that question, you say, I'm doing elite, like I'm doing good. Like, it's never like, I don't feel great right now. Like, it's always a positive answer. I guess I'm just curious, like, how have you dealt with everything that's gone on this year, whether it be the pandemic, whether it be, stuff that's happening with your family, whether it be, things that happen on the field. I guess, how have you like truly been able to handle all of those things and still, I guess, come out with a positive outlook?
Well, I think, being in a leadership position, it's what you want. You want to be able to have that, the things on your shoulders. It's not always going to be positive results, but, you're a person that, people look up to and, make things go. So it's, as a leader, you want to have the things, you want to have that responsibility, I guess what I'm trying to say. And secondly, our culture continue to, learn and grow, always responding. It's really, what it's all about. And so I think that's definitely, always having a response to something and how you respond to it and how you look at things with your perspective of being able to learn from something and grow. And honestly, like, truly, it's about faith too. For me, I know I've been very open and upfront with you guys about my, faith as a Christian, my belief in Jesus Christ. So I personally know that I'm saved and I know where I'm going eternally. And that kind of makes, in the grand scheme of things, a game sound a little different. And you understand the impact you have to a locker room, to a team, and to a bunch of different things. But understanding of that, when you cast your anxieties, on Christ, onto the Lord, that he wants that for you. And I think that's something that obviously helps me is prayer, praying. And, if I'm, it's not like I'm a superhuman. I have hard days too, but for me, what always helps is having that perspective and, being able to pray and have people that are there for me, always pick me up, but it's, casting those anxieties, those, whatever you may call it, on the Lord too. That's obviously been really big for me, honestly.
All right, Tanner, I lied. We'll take two more now. We'll go to Andy Greeter and then Corey Provis with BTN. So Andy, then Corey.
One thing that PJ talked about in his press conference was how he feels like he's maybe more empathetic now than he may have been 6 months ago or before in his coaching career. How have you seen him change in that respect?
Yeah, I mean, I think Coach has done a unbelievably elite job of doing that. I think first is the thing that immediately pops into my mind is, all the racial injustice that has happened in the country, that happened here in Minneapolis, and the way he handled that for our program, of truly opening the platform up, of listening. You don't always have to, be the one that has the answers, but he's done a great job of listening, and, creating the HERE campaign and having people who are highly educated come in and talk to us, to teach us things, to educate us, on those subjects. I think that's been a huge thing for our team. And I think Coach has done a great job of, initiating that and creating that, and really listening to us players.
Last question, Corey Provis. Corey, go ahead.
All right, thanks, Paul. Hey, Tanner, it's Corey Provis. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Corey.
Question for you. Coach Fleck a moment ago was asked, what he needs from you. And the word he said over and over again was leadership. And I'm curious, doing that now compared to leading during a successful season last year, how that is done differently. And are you leading more through more turbulence than you had to last season when things were going pretty well for yourself and the team?
Obviously the results are, different. Every year is different. And every team is different. This team's a lot different than last year's team. So understanding guys are different. They, click through different things, but really it's all about, doing things for each other. And as a leadership group, as a part of this team, we have to continue to do things better for each other, and understand we're at where we're at right now, but we have a bunch of guys who really do love each other tremendously. There's a lot of love in our locker room, guys who would do anything for each other, and that's what it's really all about. And so leading through that is really just to be at the forefront and really push that positivity and do everything I can to help the team be successful, whatever that may be. And obviously it's every year is different, every team's different, and that's something that you have to know and understand.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Corey.
Tanner, thank you for your time. We greatly appreciate it.
Yep, thank you, Paul. Have a great day, guys.